Well, and he keeps getting he's all over the place recently. I've seen people in the right calling him out now because of the stuff he's saying. He's inconsistent. But that's the thing, is they're getting erratic because of the loss of viewership and money, which we called this out. They're losing value. Like Daily Wire is bleeding. It is a bleeding service.
Well, Neurotic and Critical Drinker are booming, aren't they?
Not so much. Wait till my next video. Should be out the end of this week. Wait till the next video.
Oh, nice.
More numbers.
Apparently, the runoff of what they used to get, we're getting that dispersed to us now, as well as other smaller channels, I think. So
yeah. Thanks, RX. It is what is that? Yuan. India rupee. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. So
I've never seen that
chat
before.
of 20 cents, I'm guessing.
No,
I have no idea, but thank you for it. Anyway.
it's about $2. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you've been getting your videos blocked with anytime you're talking about Melanie Mack, right?
My recent one got blocked too. Yeah, anytime I mention her name, it gets blocked.
That's crazy.
And I tried to
Which
appeal
is
it
hilarious because Melanie Mack
manually.
is apparently no
Kinda
problem.
got tabs on her right now. Is that what it is?
So Melanie Mack, I think, is whitelisted on some sites. Like she gets preferential treatment because on Twitter she doesn't get blocked on anything, and it seems on YouTube it's kind of the same thing. So
Wild.
And I think it's worth going ahead and pointing out, looking over the YouTube terms of service. Technically, what Melanie Mack says would violate YouTube terms of service.
Oh, every
However,
video.
they even specify if you are to discuss what she says, that's not a violation.
Right.
Weird.
So the last video that I made about her, not this most recent one, but the one prior to this, used actual like a video clip from YouTube, and her video is not blocked. I checked it; it's not, but mine is. And they said mine was it was a community violation. It was a advertiser violation. And I'm like, so I'm discussing the same topic she's discussing. Somehow my discussion of those topics is not advertiser friendly, but hers are fine.
Yes. That's not a double standard. Don't worry.
Are there any neutral? I mean, no. There's really no such thing as a neutral channel in this case. But I mean, nonetheless, it wouldn't happen. We've called for it. We've asked for it. That's what the initiative came together originally to do. Essentially, that was part of it, and they just won't.
I've been on channels where I've ran into like sort of pseudo chud stuff, like people in passing. But I've never gone in there with the intention to debate anyone. It's usually just like they show up and I happen to be there. Which, by the way, I've held my own in any of those interactions. So I'm not.
I think the reason is because like for the longest time, anybody that they would engage with was like, kind of coming at them from the perspective, and it's understandable from the perspective of like, I'm going to prove you're a bigot, essentially. And that's just gets really kind of dicey to try and prove in any kind of substantive way in a conversation. They can really wiggle out of that. But whenever you're like, here's a fact about something that you said versus something else you said, or here's a video of you saying this thing that's like, and that's the kind of stuff that we started doing.
I was thinking, like, you can't go from the shame angle. You can't go from the, like, I look down on you, you're an asshole kind of thing. Because they know that's their appeal, I think it works a little bit, oddly enough, coming from Piers Morgan, but only because he is already so much the other way. So, like, right-wingers can do that to each other a little bit, but you have to come from the like flat out here's dishonesty or here's like a failure in logic kind of shit. Because
do you think it's right wingers do it because they're appealing to their own party's values or their own community's values? Is that why? Or
I think there's a little bit of that, but then there are instances where one individual like has a little bit of a conscience in a situation and is like, okay, wait, this is going too far, and it means a little bit more than like some like liberal Democrat saying, hey, you've gone too far. Not to say that it's like, that it's changing a whole lot of hearts and minds, but like I would imagine that like a conservative watching Piers Morgan say that is much more likely to buy than like seeing, I don't know, Trevor Noah saying that.
Oh,
wait,
it took him 2 weeks to talk about
Did he
sinners.
actually talk about sinners?
I think.
Well, he tweeted about it pretty quickly.
Oh, that's it.
I don't know if he videoed about it.
I didn't see a video.
Drinker's such a piece of shit.
Danu here, Danu Vox with a $2 super chat on my channel. Thank you, Danu. YouTube only applies the rules when convenient. That's true. And
yes,
I think that one of the things we have to keep an eye on moving forward is when the bigger channels, and I think Critical Drinkers already got hit with didn't he get like a copyright claim from HBO for his Last of Us?
Yes, I saw that they started doing the victim narrative. Griggs was doing
Right.
the victim video about that. Like Critical Drinkers being targeted.
I think we're going to see it happen more and more often as those channels start to lose their gusto a little bit, because right now a lot of them are immune because they pull in a lot of views and money for YouTube. The minute they start to dip under a certain amount, YouTube is going to start honestly applying the terms of service to them. So
it's so frustrating to me because on the one hand, I don't like that studios can like copyright strike you for shit that's obviously like within fair use or whatever. Like, you're certainly not getting the experience of watching The Last of Us, watching a Critical Drinker video, because watching The Last of Us is enjoyable. But
yes,
but like it's
Last
like I don't
art.
I don't like that is like the angle that's taken or whatever. But then on the same token, like Council of Geeks gets struck down all the time by the BBC for copyright for obvious like fair use shit. And it's obviously like because it's just like a smaller channel is not going to get affected by it. So I'm like, I don't feel bad. You're not being targeted for it. Small like lefty channels have been getting this for years. You are only getting the same shitty rules applied evenly across the board. Although I suppose that's not really the energy they'll take from it. But
I think this is a good question that we could all probably each answer in our own way. Just to kind of restate that in case anybody's unclear. Like for me personally, I started because I just recognized that there was a lot of misinformation, just untrue things being said about comics in general. I had a Facebook group in like 2018, 2019 that I was manager of or whatever. And it was like Marvel and stuff like that, just posting crap. And I wasn't even reading comics at the time. I hadn't read them in a few years at that point. And then I started seeing stuff just being said about like SJW Marvel and all this shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck are they talking about? They're ruining these characters. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? And I check it out and I start reading some comics and I'm like, it's not even true. Like in many cases, this is some really good comics here. They were introducing new characters. They were, doing the thing that I've always known Marvel in particular to be, which is, inclusive and fighting for, people to not be alienated and stuff like that. It didn't seem like anything out of the norm for me. And that's where I kind of stumbled into Comicsgate and what that's all about. And, Ethan Van Sciver, who I was a fan of at one point, and I realized, oh, he's doing this shit now. Gross. And from there, it was just like, I eventually found out about the Fandom Menace guys, the movie versions of that same shit. And I just, of course we'd want them to not be doing what they're doing. I don't think that any of us have any delusions that we're going to make that go away anytime soon. But personally, I just think that it's although it's hard to keep them in mind because you don't actually see them, and I do hear from them occasionally, but not as much as I'd like to. There are individuals that their lives get fucked up by this stuff. People that I don't know, never will know, and I'm just hoping that the content we do can help, act as a net a little bit to some of those people that might, fall towards that content and stop them and go, oh wait a second, that shit's all a bunch of bullshit, and they're trying to feed me a bunch of crap. I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it.
Kind of where my goal, like in my dream world, what would happen is if somebody out in the wild mentioned a Nerdrotic video or a Critical Drinker video, somebody would say to that person just instinctively, oh, that person's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Because they literally are, but people take them seriously because they're so popular. The fact is, these guys are fucking jokes. I want them to be treated, frankly, as fucking jokes, because that's what they are.
So, yep.
Is it my turn? I have two channels. I focus a little bit on both channels. My other channel, I'm totally okay having fun talking about movies and TV shows, which is something that I prefer doing, to be honest. I kind of like talking about things that I love. But I would love to see YouTube sort of enforce their terms of service a little bit on these channels. I'm not saying that everyone needs to have their channel removed or they need to be banned or blocked or demonetized, but YouTube either needs to like own up to their own terms of service or do away with them altogether. So at least we know what the field is that we're playing on, because I get hit with blocks and stuff all the time by YouTube. Doesn't get applied to everybody. So I hate that. I would love for the culture to shift a little bit. I think we need to be really honest about that because they are not shy about saying that they want the culture to change. I would like to see the culture change. I'd like to see people be a little bit less negative about everything and start to enjoy content again, because I believe that a big portion of the fan base has been indoctrinated by these channels. I believe that these channels have cultivated this kind of community, and I think people are letting them speak for that, like letting these channels speak for how they feel about things. And I know that's true for some people, because I have actually encountered and interacted with people who were heavily involved with these channels, like in terms of support and stuff, and literally stopped and said, yeah, there's stuff that I don't like, but not everything is shit. And they understand that now they've been fed like lies from these guys. So ultimately, that's what I would like to see. And if ultimately, you know, that makes me change the kind of content on my channel, then I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and I guess to go ahead and add on to mine, and then Edge, your turn. But like, what I want is almost like a YouTube space, more like what I walk into, where yeah, there's kind of a toxic element, but like it's mostly just fandoms talking about things we love. That's what I want. I want to make a video about a fucking Marvel movie and not hear anything about feminist Kevin Feige or SJW agenda or any garbage like that in the fucking comments.
None of us are naive to think that like toxicity is new to fucking fandom or anything. I think all of us have been around long enough to know that's not the case. But that it being cynically deployed and weaponized in the way that it is to take advantage of the way the YouTube algorithm works, to kind of build this what we call anti-fan communities. Anti-fan, these are fans are people that engage with something because they like it, or even if they're critical of it and they want to talk shit on it sometimes, that's part of it. Anti-fans are someone who, they're people that don't really have any intention of trying to enjoy the thing, yet they're going to talk about it, they're going to shit on it, they're going to tear it apart, they're going to go after the actors and the actresses and the, for various bad faith and sometimes bigoted reasons, often bigoted reasons. They're the kinds that are going to have a channel about, doing about everything's gone woke and stuff like that, and how the Last Jedi ruined, Kathleen Kennedy ruined Star Wars. But then they're also going to have another channel where they call for race war, sponsored by Meta PC.
Right.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it really is a good term. But this point, I don't know if you're kind of just not aware or what, because like
I encounter people talk about Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker like in the wild.
Drinker has the most subscribers of any movie channel on YouTube.
Yeah, save probably Cinema Sins.
And Nerdrotic has the most popular podcast in terms of like the fandom. So it doesn't really get any higher than those two guys.
Or kind of part of me wonders if maybe you're not just kind of, trying to field defense for him. Hope not, but
I can't tell you number of times I will be like, talking to a woman that I'm in early stages of, possibly dating. And like, I'll mention, one of the things I do on YouTube is, debunk people like Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic. And they're like, oh yeah, those people are terrible. That'll usually be the response. Not, who are they? No.
I thought you were going to tell a story about some chick that you started dating. And she's like, yeah, fuck those woke. And then I was going to be asked, did you go ahead and do it, Bob?
I filter those out early on because that you do encounter women when you're going through where it's like, oh fuck.
I mean, who walks around talking about the YouTubers they watch? And it's the thing is that they don't just watch. This is the real problem. They don't just watch Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker. They're watching a whole lot of other content in other contexts, not just movie and media stuff, but like they're watching. Daily Wirecraft. They're watching all these right-wing
One American News Network.
But this is also an unmeasurable thing. Like this makes no sense. Like what are we talking about here? I mean, if we're not talking about YouTube viewers and subscribers, then what conversation are we having? Oh geez.
Yeah.
I would not.
What you? Malachi?
Oh yeah, so I guess I think it's generally speaking, it's pretty unreasonable to expect that like you're going to get a significant drop in like subscriber base for a lot of these people. That kind of has to just happen organically or whatever. And a lot of the people, like the main goal for me, I mean, like fundamentally is to reduce toxicity in fandom spaces, like full stop. This includes people who are like ostensibly like progressive or whatever, and are angry at this, that, or the other writer for whatever reason. I don't know exactly what an end goal looks like, because I don't think that that's necessarily achievable. my like long-term thing would be that people spend less time getting their opinions from the internet and from like these sort of space. You know what I mean? It's like why, I think as much as people joke about it or whatever, like touch grass is such a big deal. Like I used to be much more engaged with a lot of the like anti-fan stuff or whatever. And like, I had to like watch every single new video to like debunk it or to criticize it or whatever. And realizing like, okay, that shit's not super healthy. And I would feel embarrassed admitting this in real life. Now, you take a step back and you're like, okay, I have problems with this. Occasionally I go and I dip into it. Here's what I do. This is kind of like a side hobby for me. People think that's funny or entertaining. Which I guess I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but I guess like ultimately I just want for people to be able to have conversations about media in healthy and appropriate ways, more like you would have them in real life. Which I know is not necessarily an actionable goal, but you guys have already discussed actionable goals. Yeah. So, and for whoever the current Doctor Who showrunner is at any point to be able to sleep at night, because good God, are we terrible to them?
And whatever women or people of color star in the next Star Wars, they should not be worried about getting called all kinds of shit.
I've started referring to anybody in that category as just like whatever demographic they are as an unapproved gay person or unapproved black person, basically to hammer home the point. So anytime it comes up, I'm always like, oh yeah, and of course they're going to be going after this unapproved whatever person, which I don't know exactly how that like what to call that rhetorically, but I feel like that's been my approach recently.
It's tongue in cheek. I don't know what it's called rhetorically though. But like, yeah, no, I mean to just kind of put a button on it's my thing. I used to say this a lot more on my channel. It got to where it was kind of like, I don't know, people would take issue with it and I would have to try and explain it. I don't want to do that. But, ambassadors, not gatekeepers was my tagline for a long time, as in like, and this is how we run the server that we have, the community server, is why waste your time shitting on something that you don't like to someone else who likes that thing, or trying to prevent someone who might be interested in something from getting into that thing, even if you don't personally like it. I guess that's maybe a far-fetched, impossible goal I have, is just to see a lot less of that. Just like, the ambassador thing means like if you've read a bunch of comics and you think this title and this creative team sucks, but then somebody asks you, hey, what do you think about this? Like, why don't you just say, you might like it, man? You might like this. Here, try it out. Or whatever, instead of just like, this fucking sucks. And my opinion is be all end all. And I don't know. I just feel like that's the
best
genesis of toxicity right there.
Yeah, the best thing is to just pretty much, if you don't like something, explain why you don't like it, and then maybe somebody will be like, "Well, I like that aspect," and it's like, "Oh, well, maybe you'll have a different opinion." But like, yeah, I mean, that's the way art is.
One of the things that I have like really learned in recent years is that even stuff that I think is as close as I can possibly call it to like objectively bad or whatever, which I know is like kind of an incredibly nebulous term, but like as close as that comes. Take some, I don't know, like Rise of Skywalker, whatever, is that there are like individual elements in any of those pieces of art that can speak to a particular person's experience or enjoyment or whatever in a way that you just cannot argue your way out of. You can't tell them they're wrong because they can acknowledge, they can say, I agree that it has all of these problems, but like my dad did this when I was young, and it's so happy to see like somebody else with that experience, or like that sort of thing.
Most of the people watching and all of us here, I think we'd all agree that Rise of Skywalker is a shit film, and we want to say objectively bad, but try and tell that to a Raylo fan. You know what I mean? Like one of these Raylo people, right? Yeah. Like they're going to fucking murder you for saying that shit.
And I've already brought up, and I think we've discussed, like there are positive aspects. I think visually that movie looks fine.
It's a beautiful film, yeah.
And then, I like the interplay between the three as written, Rey, Poe, and Finn. I like their interplay. But yeah, it's still shit. I don't like that movie. But yeah, no, that's what there is positive aspects.
An extra frustrating thing about it is it does look so good that like while you're watching it, it feels like I should be feeling more than I am, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Here, got another some more rupees here.
Oh, is that on my channel?
I guess so. It's not on mine.
Oh, it's Mad Max again. Yeah, probably is then. After ignoring them, I found great shows like Alice in Borderland, Sex Education, and Dark. With their prejudices, they are a bit complex and niche for them. Well, the thing is, I fully believe that a lot of these guys don't really understand media. I think they became like, I don't even know how to maybe describe how I feel about this, but the stuff they say comes across so surface level. Most of the time it doesn't go any deeper than it's a woman who says things I don't like, therefore it's intersectional feminism. Like, that's really what it is. So when you find these shows, like I actually think Sinners is probably too complex for them, which is why they haven't discussed it. I think there's a lot of discussions about not only culture and race, but religion. There's a lot of stuff about religion in that film that they don't even fully understand. So I'm not shocked. I'm glad that you got away from them. I see this a lot on my channel. People that run into me because I show up in some of these other sort of like places on YouTube, and they follow me here and stuff, and they talk about breaking away from these guys. I think it's important. I say this a lot. I want to reiterate it though. At a certain point at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, I thought it was a lost cause. I said it on the podcast many times that a lot of these guys that watch the channels are gone. They can't be changed. They're completely lost. And over the last year or so, I've noticed that I was absolutely wrong about that. I take a big L on that one because there's so many people that were and in some ways are still watching these guys, but realize that they're not being honest. They're being very disingenuous, and they're grifty and they're scammy. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the super chat.
So kind of on the like they don't understand media thing. This might be this might be a dumb little like story, and I apologize if the people who were saying this are watching. I'm sorry. You guys are fine. But I remember watching a while back like a YouTube video or a podcast or whatever talking about the upcoming, at that point, Book of Boba Fett show and like what their predictions were and what they really wanted for it. And at least a couple of them were like, oh my God, it'd be so cool if Boba Fett climbed out of the Sarlacc pit, he got out of there, and in the wreckage of Jabba's sail barge was the only survivor, Jabba's son, Rada the Hutt, and gave this whole like thing about whatever that was like I was reading or listening to this and thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my goddamn life. Like, what in the world? Okay. But a lot of the like anti-fan stuff or whatever is basically that level of thinking, except you're an idiot if you don't want that. Like these guys or whatever, like dudes on a podcast talking about what they want for Boba Fett. Who cares? Who gives a shit? But that is like the mindset of this sort of stuff. It's a complete misunderstanding of the media that they're interested in discussing. It's in no way connected to like the reality of that media's story or that history or anything like that. And also you are the enemy if you don't want what they want out of it.
But yeah, speaking of their ability to analyze media, and Sinners was brought up, and I think that's a great point. But I think another one to even bring up would be Thunderbolts, because Thunderbolts, silly comic book movie, but you know what? Like, as someone who has reached that rock bottom moment, as you get older, many people have experienced that rock bottom moment. As someone who's experienced that, Thunderbolts spoke to me in a very powerful way. It was very good movie in my opinion. I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's better than Sinners, but it's really fucking good. Highly recommended.
So Mike, I mean, I don't know if you missed when we said this, man, but like it's not a problem that people want to talk about what they don't like. That's fine. The thing is it's not people saying they don't like things. It's how people discuss things that they don't like. It's essentializing someone who does like something that you do like or don't like, and consider like how EFAP essentially goes around, finding smaller channels that are just like fucking mind their own business. Like, oh, I like Mandalorian or whatever, or I like the Black Widow movie or something. They'll make 3 or 4 hour videos just like roasting that person, just like talking mad shit on them, calling them the R word and, all this stuff just for liking a thing. That's the problem. That's the toxicity that we're talking about. It's not, we're not saying nobody's allowed to not like anything.
I mean, that was the reason why I got started. I talked about this before, like the whole idea of She-Hulk. Like, I was making my own She-Hulk videos and having fun watching the show, and all of a sudden, these guys from fucking Nerdrotic's channel found my channel and started attacking me. No, we haven't talked about him yet. I haven't even mentioned his name.
That's fucking amazing. That's amazing. Do you have Eric? Do I have bots or something? Is that what this is? That's
he
crazy.
Pops up like his I swear to God, like if you mention him once in a video, like all you do is cover him. It's like I haven't done an Eric July video in like 6 months.
Well, he lost another 1,000 subscribers.
All you do is talk about him.
In a week's time, he's lost another 1,000 subscribers. So it's like I don't really know if it's even worth discussing.
Any of you incels, QAnon, 4chan, Snyder Cut motherfuckers want to get on a line now?